And take two. For some reason my Wi-Fi disappeared, so I'm deleting the video and doing it again, talking about my open relationship, and just mentioning that all the dynamics I'm speaking about open relating are definitely not limited to open relating, but are pretty much applicable to any relationship, whether it's open, polyamorous, or monogamous, or any other constellation or design. We will all encounter the same patterns and the same dynamics. And so if you're watching this and you're like, but I'm in a monogamous relationship, this doesn't make any sense to me, I think it will. So 2 days ago I was speaking about, these different characters that we might have in our minds, these different types, these, either our inner children, our inner parents, our control freaks, our freedom freaks, all these persons, and how my process of the last weeks is like getting to know even more of them and understanding that these characters actually have their own boundaries and desires, and they might not be the same. So I might inside myself have different boundaries going on at the same time and different desires going on at the same time. And 2 days ago, like in this video, I was also speaking about how some people feel more fear and how people feel less fear, and how some people are more anxious in relationships and how people are more avoidant. So if you want to hear more about it, check the previous video or blog post. I'll put this on my blog as well. You'll hear more about that. So 2 days ago I was quite, and maybe you see it in my face if you compare that video to this one, in a completely different space. Like 2 days ago I was very much encountering a lot of fear. I was feeling unsafe, and that changed. I feel safe again. I feel powerful again. So what happened? And this is one of the questions that came up after last video, was like, okay, now who to listen to? If there are so many voices, so many characters with all these different boundaries and desires, now who to listen to? It's a tricky one, because many of these characters are very smart, are very, very intelligent, and they know you very well. So they know how to play with you. They know how to get attention. Become aware of how they work. They know how to get your attention super well. They know to push, which buttons to push. They know which strings to pull. They know how to get your attention. So they will probably all feel right, and they will all feel like rushed or in a hurry, like they all want, and if you push them away, they'll probably scream and tell you how much you need to listen to them. So my truth for now is that my body knows, like, when what's a fun practice you can do with yourself, and I even sometimes do this with David, which is super interesting, is to give a character space to speak. So to tell, like, if there's this character who's like feeling very present for you in the moment, to give them space to speak. And when I do this with David, it's almost like role play. Like, he can ask me, like, okay, does this character have a name? Who is she? Who is he? What is the character? And then I can feel, sometimes I can like feel my face changing. I can feel my voice changing. The words that I use can change. And it's not some spooky spiritual thing. It's just a part of me that doesn't feel heard, or that wants to feel heard, and that asks for space. So sometimes they can be like, I can give like a disclaimer in advance, like, okay, this is going to be very spiritual, incorrect. This might be blaming you. This might be not making any sense. Please don't respond. Just, let me speak. So I might speak from that character to go deeper into it. Like, okay, what's the underlying need? Because these characters, even though they might sound very irrational, there is a sincere need underneath, and just giving them space to speak might help getting there. But to know which one is right, what helps me is like the one that is or the part that is sincere is when I start to feel it in my body, when my voice isn't just coming from here but comes from deeper. When I express, so one of the things I did to David was to express some things that felt like the most scary to express. So that might also, like the part that feels most scary to express might be the truth part, the most real part, because it's the most scary thing to say. It might be the most vulnerable thing. So what happened for me is that I am, just to not go into a long story about my situation, but basically my house is for sale. My house has some foundation problems. It's hard to sell it. We're going to sell it with a loss. And I'm looking for a new home, and it's very hard to find a new home. So there is some, like, literally some foundation challenges happening in my system, outside me and inside me. And also some other things going on that, that come with owning a business and detangling a 10-year relationship. So there is enough challenge in my life at this moment, and it has been there for a while. I lost my horses last year and some other things, so it has been piling up. And now, when it feels like a culmination of the piling up, my partner is for 2 weeks at a tantra festival without internet, and it was like the push, or like the beautiful English straw, the saying phrase, like the straw that broke the camel's back. So knowing that he has full freedom within our agreements, but that he has full freedom to explore in any way with anyone he wanted, like even having a 2-week or a 3-week something with someone was like, oh shit, that's too much. And then the distortion stories started to come. Distortion stories being, feeling nervous about something. And then the mind using that feeling of nervousness to create stories that create fear. So just this story, like just knowing that being nervous about him going to a tantra festival, my distortion stories could be like, okay, he's probably having sex with someone every day. He's probably sleeping in bed with someone every day. He's probably going to have like a 2-week full-on relationship with someone. Maybe he wants to have kids with her. That's the distortion story thing. It becomes bigger and bigger and quite irrational. But the feeling of fear, like bodies don't know the difference between unrealistic fear and real fear. So the physical fear response is very real. So I was again in my distortion world feeling real fear. And I spoke to him. I said to him after that last video share I did, I spoke to him like, actually my truest truth is that it's too much for me right now. If you would have new lovers, that you would add to our relationship right now, I have no space for that. It feels too much. So my sincere request, like also because, this anxious avoidant dynamic, it's more in a picture of our relationship, like we see it more clearly again. These things always come with more clarity and less clarity. So this anxious avoidant dynamic is more clear. So I requested, like, I want to focus on us and our relationship and not add new people to it right now. And it felt scary to ask that, because my judgment towards myself is that I should not take anyone's freedom away, that I should give them all freedom because I chose for an open relationship. And then listening to all these voices in my head, my truest truth was, I need to feel a bit more safe because I'm not a good mom right now. I'm crying at night. I'm feeling afraid, too far out of my comfort zone. So how can I get back to the comfort zone? So this was my request to him, and he said, his response was, I hear you, and I want to commit to this. It's okay. Can I still cuddle with people? Like, can I have cuddle buddies in my bed? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And so we found a place where both of us were a yes for. And I could feel in my body how how the fear response melted down, and how my voice started coming from my belly again and not from my throat again, to me confirming that I was challenging myself. I was challenging myself way too much. And this is a pitfall in all relationships, and definitely in open relationships, is that we can be like, okay, this is what I chose for, so I should go as deep and far and fast as I can. And I think there is no joy in that. There is no juice in that. Like, it's okay to acknowledge that sometimes we're fucking afraid and we need to pull brakes a bit. And maybe it's not even pull brakes, that's a judgment. Maybe it's to again and again express our desire of the moment. So that's what we both did. We expressed our desires of the moment. And I noticed today that, this was yesterday, I noticed today that I feel more in my power. I feel more creative again. I feel relaxed and happy about him dancing and interacting. Like, he still has full freedom to do whatever he wants in workshops and you know, lots of space to interact in any way he wants to. And that feels like I feel joy again. And then these funny synchronicities start to happen again, like right away. Like tomorrow there's open house for potential buyers and lots of people come to the house, so I have to make it like blinking clean and shiny. And then today I was like, oh, I have to wash the windows and I can't reach, like, it's 3 floors. I can't reach the upper ones. And I have a whole kinky tantra workshop to prepare for this weekend, like with all these processes. Maybe if you have like this sensitive fear response like me, you also know that these processes, they can like completely take over. So they take a lot of, you know, the processing space of the brain. So there's very little space for creative things. So I need to do some final preparations for my weekender, or I desire to. So I want to put my time there. So then suddenly today I was a knock on the door and there were 2 window washers who were washing the windows in the street, who could like have these, you know, these telescope things that can reach to 5 floors if they have to. So for very little money, they washed all the windows of this house, but I don't have to do that. We had an amazing conversation about, they gave me beautiful advice about houses and living. And one of them was actually like, I kind of like this house. When was this open day? And the other one wanted to give me some more advice on finding a home. So then, boom, that's happening all of a sudden. And I was sharing, and I had a beautiful session with a client today, and beautiful day. And then I was sharing with David just before this Facebook Live, and telling him how much more empowered and happy I feel. And he says, well, I feel the exact same thing. I feel more happy and empowered now too, with you feeling more happy and empowered. So, yeah, that's where we are today, is that, you know, again and again, compassion to ourselves, finding our truth of the moment, no matter what it is. You know, it might not be the truth that you think is true. And we always seem to have this idea that our paths are increasingly, there are so many judgments on our paths. Like, this is how it should look. And if I'm here now, I should be there tomorrow. But is there better? Maybe there is better, or there is better. It's all such judgment. So what feels true for you today, and coming back to what feels true again and again and again, and having the courage to express your desire no matter what it is. And yeah, I think that's what I want to share with you today. That this process of really diving into all these things that are happening, all these characters, the value in there, to learn to distinguish between the chatter, the stories that they produce. It's like, you know, the stories are like little children. If we ignore them, they start to scream and they start to create stories to attract your attention. So how can we just listen to them, identify what's underneath, and speaking, like giving them full permission to speak is very helpful. It's very helpful. Even if it's irrational, just write it down if you're on your own. Just give them, set a timer for 5 minutes, get to know this person, let them write down, no matter how irrational or weird it is or how judgmental it is. Just give them space and see what's underneath, which desire is underneath, what is it that this part of you needs, and how can you create that. And don't fill in the response of your partner, because it might be different. Like, you know, one of my projections is that he will not want what I want. In essence, my partner is against me. Like, I've had enough relationship in which my partner was rebelling against me. Like, if I had a desire, he would like go straight head first, you know, towards me. And it's easy to project the image of our previous partners on our current one. It's very easy to project how our previous partners were to our current partner, which is both unfair and not true because it's a new person. And yes, it's true, like I spoke a little about in my previous video, like we attract the opposite of where we are in our ways of touching. So if we are more avoidant, we'll probably attract someone who's more anxious, and the other way around. And that probably still happens. And this is a new person. This is a new moment. So expecting them to be like our previous partners is very much unfair. So give them a chance to respond from their truth. Yeah. And see where it goes. See where it goes. And one other thing, it's also part of the relationship agreement some people ask me about, is what I do have are deal breakers. One of the things, and I'll share more about it later, but there are a few deal breakers that I have for relating with anyone. And one of my deal breakers is that I don't want to be pushed, and I don't want my boundaries to be crossed, or at least not consistently. So I have very clear for myself, and my partner knows, like, if you're going to push my boundaries constantly, or if you're going to break them when I like share them from a vulnerable space and from a place that feels real to me, and you're going to break them, I'm out. I'm not going to be in a relationship with someone who's like constantly pushing or breaking my boundaries. So knowing that for myself also gives safety, because I know I'll take care of myself. I know I'll take care of my own boundaries. I'm not making anyone responsible for it. I'm making myself responsible for expressing my boundaries and taking care of them. And I'm requesting my partner to do the same thing. And I'm letting them know that if they don't, I'm not willing to be in a relationship with them, which is self-care. Yeah, which is super self-care and self-love. So I'll give you a few seconds if you have an urgent question, you can type it down. If I like the question, I might answer. I'm not going to go into personal stories in these videos. If you want, me to go into your personal situation, then feel free to let me know, and I'm happy to hook you up for a coaching session. But general questions, yes, of course. Or if you have questions about my relationship that I can share in public, then of course. I'll keep doing these videos because I'm enjoying them. And I'll try to give you a heads up if I feel like giving them. Like, I'll give you a heads up an hour in advance when I can. And feel free to add your questions if you want to. So this is what I want to share today. Again, about, creating safety in relationships. There's heaps more to say about the topic, and I'm sure heaps more will come. And for now, this is what I want to share. I wish you an amazing rest of your day or night, and just be good. Be good.